Okay, Lupat episode 9 and Build episode 30. Guys sound a bit off. Sorry guys, I'm feeling a bit sick. Work fatigue is finally getting to me. Likewise, there will be no vlog next week because Matt and I are moving into a bigger apartment, and that's all happening next week, and we're getting a third roommate in. We've just kind of discussed this before on the stream, so yeah, I will not have the time to make a vlog for Lupat episode 10 and Build episode 31 next week, simply because, well, when the episodes premiere, I will be road tripping to DC. The next day, I will be road tripping back from DC, and Saturday, I will be moving everything and alongside them, so yeah, not gonna have that time at any point in the weekend to actually, get anything out of my normal time. But back to what I should actually be talking about. Lupin Ranger episode 9. This is a Kairi-focused episode, but in an important way, as while Tuma and Umika have thus far gotten a bit of spotlight on the backgrounds of their lost ones, we haven't really gotten as much on Kairi's, despite his focus as the Team Red, and the Team Red is usually a bit more focused out. The Team Red is the more focused on character, even if the show ends up being pretty competently balanced. And the fact that they've waited until episode 9 to deliver this, while focusing on everyone else in turn beforehand, I think was a good choice. As then it feels less like the show is so Red heavy with all of its events, even though he has been the viewpoint character for all of this. It's an important contrast, as it is doing correctly what Sentai has been failing at since Kyoryuger. As I've brought up in my videos the last couple years, but especially on point with when I was discussing Kyoryuger about this problem with it. Anyways, the episode takes focus around Emma Goldini, a French designer who has a pendant which is a crystal shaped like a stealth bomber. At this point in the series, we had been working under the assumption that all of the Lupin collection pieces had been taken by the Gangler. This is shown to not be the case, and this specific one, which turns out to be the Scissors Dial Fighter, which is kind of amusing as it's a paired, smaller stealth fighter docked on top of a larger, V-wing shaped stealth fighter. And what amuses me about this is that I used to have a Transformers figure that was released in 1994, 1995, that was named Dreadwing, that had the exact same setup, and that it was a two-packaged thing of the Transformers Dreadwing and Smokescreen. And they docked onto each other in the exact same way this paired Dial Fighter did. And this amuses me to no hell, as I loved the crap out of that thing. I mean, the ironic thing, of course, is that the Scissors Dial Fighter is being sold for the same value as you could get that paired set in 1994, so it's actually, not even 1994. I think they re-released that in 2001 for the same price point, so it's not even equivalent. But yeah, they're probably selling that entire hunk of junk that just docks on as a paired Artima weapon for $30, when the Transformers figure that does the same thing and is a triple changer has the same price point. Kind of looking forward to when the Power Rangers property finally gets taken over by Hasbro. Maybe we'll get more affordable for the quality items, but regardless, Emma has the pendant somehow. It's not explained how, but from how Koguri and Good Striker describe it, it's that not all of the Lupin collection pieces fell into the Gangler's hands. During their heist, some others went missing that have not been accounted for from Koguri and whoever else is helping him's research into this. And they, Koguri even approached them originally with... Yeah, it is Koguri. I'm still a bit off with the names due to the breadth of this cast, but Koguri even approached them first to even verify that it is a piece. Fortunately, the monster of the week, Brez Arenishka, did their work for them by covering after it himself to complement his own Lupin collection piece. So, yeah, that's pretty much verified. The Kairi focus, however, is in how he becomes the point man in trying to either steal it from her or convince her to give it up, since it's really not worth her life. And I like, and it is a credit to his character, that he tries to talk to the woman and convince her instead of choosing stealing it as the first option. It is not only the more human thing to do, especially considering their situation where their goal by reclaiming all these things is to use a wish to revive them from the dead, get back the lost time with them. But also, if you steal it first, then they're going to be less rephrase. If they attempt to steal it first, they are then going to be less likely to hand it over in any other situation. So just because they bear the mantle of thief, they're not being stupid about this and, trying to steal stuff first from people that are not antagonistic jackasses. They pretty much only do that to the Gangler because, they kill people, they hurt people with their, stolen goods, so to speak, that have granted them special powers. In this case, no, their family just found it somehow and has been... Not their family. Emma either found it or it was part of her family and she took it with her. I either don't remember the specific circumstances from the episode and whether they specified it or they didn't specify it. It's like, my memory's shot these days, so I'm a bit off on that. So, it humanizes Kairi in that he's not full force into this to not consider the human aspect of it, or other people's concerns about it. And moreover, we get a bit more of an explanation on why he was so at odds with his brother. Apparently, and it's through the proxy of Emma relating her own strained relationship with her sister, as initially she confused, when Kairi approached her in civilian form, she thought he was just an agent meant to, try and bring her back to her sister and not, a thief. But it's he first had to, not admit to being a thief, but, dissuade her from thinking that, he was out solely for someone else's agenda in all of this. And it leads to Emma talking about the strained relationship with her sister, and it perfectly mirrors Kairi's own, in that both of them are different from their siblings, but looked up to them to such a degree that they spent much of their time trying to echo them, and became resentful of that when they found themselves unable to actually do so. And the contrast between that is... Sorry, I realized my mic was not in the best position for listening, but the difference between them is that Kairi personally experienced the end result of acting like that, with having to watch his brother be frozen and die, and so he knows the cost of there being words unsaid between them, and the last thing you actually said being hostile, mean-spirited, and so on. And he actually, from this personal experience, is very empathetic towards Emma's own issues, and throughout the episode, I shouldn't say throughout the episode, but when she first brings up the sister thing, even before elaborating on it, he is encouraging her to make up from it, and it is... from what we know about the character before this, we get why, and as the episode goes on, we grasp a greater understanding of why he views it, and why, the little snippets of anger between them that we saw, we now understand their roots, why he seemed so, angry, frustrated, and hateful on first glance, but would have such a severe reaction to his brother's death as is showcased. It's like, it wasn't... He didn't actually hate his brother, he hated that he couldn't stand up in comparison to his brother, and, not being able to live up to others' expectations or to be like another person, that is legitimately frustrating, and it is entirely human to unintentionally come to resent that failure and unintentionally inflict it upon those not deserving of it, and that is now further expansion on what Kairi's character actually is. Someone who is remorseful because there were things left unsaid. Now, I hate having to keep bringing this up, but this is another reason why Kyuranger failed so severely with its characterization of several of its cast members. This never came across whenever they tried to invoke it, especially with fucking Lucky. Lucky, it was always an afterthought. It was always, he was saying things in complete contrast to reality in the situation, and supposedly informed by his personal experiences, but of course, in conflict with reality. And when they eventually got to what would justify those, they showed that, no, he was completely wrong the entire time. Like, the entire later revelation that his world was being... I really don't care enough about Kyuranger to compartmentalize that. That his world was dominated, yeah, that never worked to validate any of his previous jackassery. I again hate having to bring this up because I want the show to just fucking go away, but, it's again showing how much of a failure past Sentai have been with this, in that they fail to humanize or make you empathize with the cast members with how they fucked up their portrayals. Now again, Zyuohger is the exception to this, but as I keep saying about that, it's an unremarkable show because, not because it's bad, but because most of what it did had been done better. Like, not every point. The animals, the people being animals thing, but the fish out of water kind of stuff, we've seen that before, and it's not that the way Zyuohger did it was bad. I keep trying to stress that because I did like the show, but it didn't really do anything that remarkable or new with it. Even here, Lupin Ranger, with this specific backstory for a character, what Kairi, Tuma, and Umika have experienced has been done before, but it's making it feel unique to the characters. The way they're going about this backstory is unique to the characters and unique in contrast to other Sentai series. Not just through... There are going to be similarities. The show has been on the air for 43 years in 42 different series. What the hell? My fucking... Yeah, I just lost power to my screen, so I have no idea what just happened. So, yeah, monitor failed. That's not going to be fun to replace. And I lost my entire train of thought. But I hope you all got the point of what I was making. Kairi is showing himself as a better Red than anyone since Daigo by using his personal experiences to, I guess, the best way to be, help someone out of a similar situation through that noted experience that he does have. And it's through this that Emma eventually does give up the Scissors Dial Fighter to him, because it really is not worth her life, and to just hang on to this dumb trinket, and ends up going to make up with her sister. We don't see the end result of that, which is kind of how this should be done. It should be up to her and her own journey and her own life story to actually address all that, and she's not one of the characters we are focused on right now. Granted, when this kind of thing has shown up in competent Sentai series, this often means that the character might end up making a return. It's a might possibility, but it has happened, so I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up popping up somewhere down the line and having obtained another Lupin collection piece since then, since we don't really have a lead on how she got this one. So if that happens, I wouldn't be surprised. But we've got a bigger, I shouldn't say issue, but concern with the current dynamics between the Lupin Ranger and the Patranger, in that, well, Keiichiro blew up the monster. And, well, they do that every week. It was before the Lupin Ranger could get the collection piece out of its chest, meaning it's potentially destroyed. And I say potentially because they left behind no remains of the monster. And as we've seen up to this point thus far, every time the monsters have died, they've left behind the chest, which is just burst open due to how prevalent it is. And, what's her name? The Narya of the series. I don't think she was even in the episode. Ghosh. No, Ghosh is the... Yeah, Ghosh is... Every time we've seen Ghosh revive a monster, it's usually with the chest piece, the safe that they all carry on being what they form around, as it's the most durable. Here, it didn't even have that, so it's possible that the monster faked his death, and we're going to see that play out next week or sometime in the future. But at the moment, if they're actually following through with this, like, no presumption of them actually having no chance to actually do this anymore, they've actually... Just going for the presumption of what's been presented here, they have lost their chance to revive their lost loved ones because the collection piece has been destroyed, and it's all due to the impulsive whims of... Yeah, I'm gonna call it. Keiichiro's the fucking dumbass Red of the series. Yeah. He has repeatedly been showcased what the Lupin Ranger are after. What is the entire point of their crusade, even though they haven't really committed a big crime. Well, okay, we kind of have the first one in this episode where Kairi impersonates an officer, and that is a crime, but, comparatively, for what he accuses them all, he hates them on principle, and yet he's the bigger asshole. Yeah, I really... If this ends up being true, then and they have no intention of addressing it on the Patranger side of how monumentally they fucked up, then yeah, I'll be moving fully into the Lupin Ranger side of this whole warring Sentai team argument, because I've tried to be, like, neutral in this and point out where both sides have a point, but you lose the moral argument entirely, you lose the moral high ground when you know about something, and you still choose to perform actions that are detrimental to, like, others' well-being. So, yeah, if it would be a very bad... Actually, that's kind of why I'm hoping that it ends up being a monster fake-out and they didn't actually lose the Lupin collection, because that would permanently lose any empathy the Patranger have for their side on things if they're willfully ignoring actions and... that... I'm trying to phrase this correctly as I try to get this out of my head. They know the Lupin collection are dangerous. That is a given. They have no idea the cost of what might happen if they're destroyed. Like, they might have some... Like the Lupin Ranger have been told, they might have some greater ability or purpose that might actually be important. And their reckless destruction of them could be dangerous or life-threatening in the long term. And with their ignorance of that, No, not their ignorance. Their ignorance of they're just completely lacking concern of the pieces. That could be damning in this entire argument, especially with Kichiro's repeatedly showcased blind-headed recklessness that they keep trying to address and show him as not, but he keeps failing to showcase or reflect that in his actions past those incidents. So, like, we had a good Kichiro episode a few weeks ago, or was it last week? Where he shows his resolve in caring for the people, and yet he has to know by this point that the Lupin Ranger are doing this as a means to an end, especially with Kairi's beatdown with the Cyclone the Cyclone Dial Fighter and the bike trigger machine, that they're not just common thieves doing out to the thrill of their own selfishness, and yet I'm dead certain that they have to be doing a fake out here, but if they're not, in the small chance that they're not, it's not going to be good for the show. Okay, so, Build Episode 30. This one is a game changer. Well, okay, it's not a game changer, but, I was right. Like, I was right. I feel on the urge of gloating about this. Couple weeks ago, several vlogs ago, I proposed the idea that, in response to people thinking that Bloodstark was going to be a sympathetic villain, I thought, from this guy's actions, there's no way in hell they're going to do that. And I proposed the one caveat that Isurugi is actually possessed by what destroyed Mars. What is revealed in this episode is that Bloodstark is actually a different personality and is possessing Isurugi and is potentially the one who destroyed Mars, which the show refers to as Evolt. So if this is Evolt, and that's Evolt, the destroyer of Mars, this is the one rounded exception they could do to make Isurugi a sympathetic character, but also an unforgivable villain to reflect the unforgivable actions he has made. And I called it. It's like, it's kind of obvious reasoning in hindsight, but they have given no hint to it before this. But then again, they haven't exactly focused much on the what destroyed Mars beyond the Pandora's box part of the plot. Now that they're addressing that with Bernage, who is possessing Misora, and then the Ryuga part of it, and their connections to the Pandora box, it's smart to bring this in now as a contrast between a character that actually is caring of his daughter and regretful of what's happening with him, but also having the true main antagonist being a monster possessing him that Bernage and the Pandora's box itself is trying to thwart, only for their actions to only further facilitate the actions of the villains. As, remember, we only got the full bottle technology, rephrase. Katsuragi was only able to develop the full bottle technology from the nebula gas released by the Skywall due to its changing and reformatting after exposure to Misora's armlet, bracelet. Bangle? I think bangle was the word they were using. And she only got that after it reacted with the when she came in contact with the Pandora's box. Now, we don't have the specifics on that situation, but it's possible that Bernage, in reflection of the Pandora's box myth of hope sealed inside the box while all the evils are unleashed, it's possible that when Mars died, the Pandora's box sealed all that energy, all that power within itself, with Bernage acting as the key to its hope and salvation. So when it was brought back, Bernage's spirit wrote it and came into contact and created the bangle across the closest compatible person, which would of course been Misora as Isurugi's daughter, and Isurugi himself possessed by the Warbringer trying to unlock its power. This all makes sense to me. What doesn't so much is how Ryuga ties into these revelations, in that Bernage is uniquely focused on Ryuga as having relevance and not being entirely human, thus flagged as the last hope of Mars and last hope of Pandora, even giving him a new fragment of Pandora's power, which is revealed to be the Cross Z Magma Bottle for his unique upgrade, which is going to be showing up next week, which I will not be able to cover since I will be moving and whatnot. But now, as I keep stressing, as I have repeatedly addressed, when let me be straight flat out. Ryuga has not had much of a role in the show, and I have pointed out in every egress where in the first 30 episodes of the show, what he's done is mattered so little you could almost exclude him entirely to make him have no relevance at all in the Ryuga has not done anything thus far in the show that no other character could have done, and you could have written him out of the show entirely and had any other character in the existing cast do it. Like, bar him, like, he could have just not been a counter of the show. We could have just had Sento through the first 18 episodes, then introduced Greece for the whole beginning of the whole war plot, and then had Gentoku come in as Rogue, and just done it that way. Now, we have this plot revelation of Ryuga having some personal connection to Mars that no one knew about, and has not been seeded at all, I should additionally add. But I'm glad, because it finally now gives him an importance and role in the show. What's gonna be a problem, though, is whether they actually capitalize it, or if it's only just going to be a bump in the story to get him his next upgrade, and then he's going to move back to being irrelevant to the grand scheme and development of the series. Like, people keep insisting he's the Shotaro equivalent in the Kamara double comparison of the two shows, and I'm like, no. It's like, Shotaro was the viewpoint character. His actions actually mattered in the series, as it contrasted better against what Philip was going through, and, like, he had a personal story in it. Ryuga's really not, in comparison with Build. So, to finally give him something, that's meritable. That is really something I've been wanting to see, especially since, well, all that's going on with the plot, it ties him so deeply into the Pandora's box mess and its secrets and the fate of Mars that it would be foolish, outright stupid, to neglect him after that. Yes. So, yeah, points there for finally giving him relevance. Granted, this also, is motivated by other reasons. Thanks to Stark, Ryuga's Splash Driver and his the Dragon Splash Jelly were completely destroyed. He only now has the original build driver, meeting with the addition of the Cross-Sea Magma Full Bot, the Dragon Magma Full Bot. I just saw that I'm reading that incorrectly. That Sento has to make a new upgrade item for him, and it takes the form of the Cross-Z Magma Knuckle, which, in the fight here, really, it works. Like, he does the whole Shoryuken thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he makes use of it following this for his full form upgrade transformation. But there are some problems here, in that when Sento abandons everyone to just try and go rogue and pretty much allow Toto to distance themselves from him, so him counterattacking and fighting back against Sato's Namba-controlled forces isn't seen as reflective of the country's actions, so yeah, they're not culpable, not responsible for what, in other terms, would be inciting a war, which, hey, was kind of the point Sento had originally a lot of episodes ago when the three warring factions plot even started up, where that it would be better if he wasn't officially associated with the government, and yet they dragged him into that, so poor planning on their thought, but whatever. They're getting back to that and trying to use it for good matters, only, yeah, the others aren't letting them drag them in. The others are not letting himself distance them from him. They're all in it together, and that's really something that has been a better aspect of the show in how the trio of writers, my issues with Ryuga being, like, not relevant to a lot of events, notwithstanding, has done. They've built a long-held sense of trust with the various members of the team and how they first interacted, and it's good to, like, have the team, the full gathering team Henshin moment where they're all fully united, as it is here. Like, they're going to have each other's backs now through thick and thin. It took Drive until the late 30s to get that, even though they did the same thing, so I guess the back end of the show is going to feel a bit crowded then. What doesn't so much work is that when fighting off the Saito forces then, they literally fall into the plot hole of the Pandora Tower, which they're right at the edge of, opening it up and sucking them in, simply so they can fight more bad guys. It's like, why did you even have them enter here if that was what you were going to do with it? I get the idea that with Bernage's focus on Ryuga, that Evolt, that, Stark, knows that this is bad and is trying to now get rid of him before he can become an actual threat, but I'm hoping that's followed up on more next week, when, we get more exposition on that. So, yeah. Good interim episode, good Patranger, good Lupin Patranger stuff this week, and again, I will be back in 2 weeks for discussing 4 episodes of the show, I guess, or I'll try and keep it more concise. Later.